I'm David Blue Garcia, director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I'm Fede Alvarez, writer and producer.
We're taking you through the best Easter eggs in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Spoilers ahead. One of the great Easter eggs is that when you watch the beginning of the film and the opening documentary is actually narrated by John Larroquette, who narrated the original 1974 film.
The events of that day were to lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The shocking murders were committed with a variety of tools, including hammers, meat hooks, and most disturbingly, a chainsaw.
It's a very recognizable and distinct voice, and when we were recording the ADR session with him, he came on and he nailed it in the first take. I believe we used some unused behind-the-scenes footage or snippets from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre shoot as well in the footage to sort of invoke the Texas landscape.
I think any classic horror movie will have people stopping by the gas station and getting bad omen. They don't get it like straightforward here, but I think the audience knows just by watching to that documentary that that's the bad omen itself. Who doesn't love a good old stop by the gas station with a crazy old man that kind of treats you a little bit rough and send you on your way?
Whatever happened to her? Is she still alive?
She became a ranger here in Texas. She must have looked for that maniac for more than 30, 40 years.
So she found him.
He was wearing a mask.
There's a really cool image of like the state of Texas with a chainsaw blade coming out, and that's the top panhandle. I believe that was designed by our production designer, Michael Perry.
Love that one, yeah.
Really cool idea that he came up with, and they had a lot of fun printing that out on mugs and, you know, making those DVDs and posters and t-shirts and stuff like that. So it's there to kind of show that, you know, in the world of the story, that this town still kind of talks about these awful murders that happened 40, 50 years ago.
I want that t-shirt, man. I'm gonna get it on the mail. Still waiting for it. Someone promised it to me. I'm pretty sure in production. Yeah, I'll get the t-shirt, Fede.
If you watch the original film, there's a lot of fields, a lot of sunflower fields. It's kind of a visual motif throughout Texas summers and stuff like that. And in this film, we also filmed in a sunflower field, although you may not know it, because a few weeks before we filmed, a thunderstorm rolled through, and I think hail destroyed all the petals in the field, which left it sort of a brown, dead mess of stalks. But I actually thought it was kind of appropriate for an aging Leatherface emerging from this like dead sunflower field.
It's like a pretty unique look. Not only that, when eventually the van rolls over it and you can see kind of the sunflowers be beheaded, it's kind of a great omen for the horror that's about to happen.
This is the first time Leatherface has worn a mask in probably 50 years. You know, he treats it with kind of a grandiose gesture.
From a story standpoint, I think what was important, you know, something that is never really explained is why he wears that face, you know. Based on the original folklore, it's supposed to be his mother face, right? So we thought, would it be great in a story where he's, at the end of the day, Leatherface is enacting a revenge in the name of his mother. From a thematic and character standpoint, it made a lot of sense that he was wearing his mother face, that is the one that is being wronged in the first minutes of the movie and trigger his killer brand.
He's wearing her face. He's wearing her face.
These original murders, the original story that happened in 1974, made an impact on the world, and there was an investigation, and Leatherface was never found. And so we wanted to suggest a bigger world that, you know, Sally Hardesty as a character has been living in this whole time. She's been preparing her whole life for this vengeance against this man. She's been hunting him down, and she has prepared herself for the level of violence that she would need to take him down. She knows her way around a knife. She's not afraid of blood anymore. And there's that kind of image of her slaughtering the pig connects her to Leatherface, and, you know, he used to be a butcher in his family line of work. So I thought that was kind of an interesting sort of connection between the two characters.
Based on the way she's introduced, is like she's probably been looking for this guy for a long time, and she probably hit a lot of dead ends for many, many years. And when we meet her, it feels to me like she's close to give up. And she gets the last phone call, and I think she probably got similar phone calls in the past. So, but something in her tells her maybe she should explore this one. Though it's not said, I think the way she looks at a photo, it feels like she made a promise to her friends that she was going to find this guy. I think David, maybe you can talk. You had a lot of fun with that, like getting Mark to kind of the way he slashes and just the way he moves, and he used the chainsaw. That is definitely reminiscent of the way you've seen in the original film, right?
Yeah, we talked a lot with the actor Mark about how Leatherface would move, and Mark had studied Gunnar Hansen's movements from the original film, but we have to realize that he's a much older man now, so he's gonna move in a different way, and he still has some of that unpredictable irregularity to his movement, and he can move fast when he needs to, but he's also an old man, so he gets tired a lot. He vacillates between very active, but then very, very tired. Some people might, criticize his movement and say that, oh no, an old man could never move that fast. But I mean, I've seen some old men here in Texas that could kick my ass. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it's accurate. If you go back and watch the bus massacre closely, we actually hid a couple of images in some of the lightning flashes that happen during the sort of montage of slaughter. If you look in the windows of the bus, you'll see a few flashes of things from earlier in the film. So I'm not going to say what those are, but you can go find them.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
And then there's the other one. So when Dante first goes into the orphanage and he goes upstairs and he tries to remove the Confederate flag from the window, there's a wide shot, and in the corner, in the bottom left-hand corner, you can actually see a chair made of bones, which Michael Perry, our production designer, was, doing an homage to the original bone furniture from the first film. If you look again, you'll actually see Leatherface sitting in that chair in the darkness.
Yeah, it's a great one, because you kind of blink, you miss it, right? It's one of those.
At the end of the film, when Melody kind of uppercuts Leatherface with the chainsaw, it's sort of a homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, where she does a very similar finishing move. And I don't think we had realized that when we shot it, but we later connected that.
And I remember I showed up and I was like, dude, did you do it because it was done like that? And then you said like, no. And I love that, because that feels like, the spirit of the original director of Tobe Hooper just like came to you. So like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to dig this one. I'm going to do it the way I did on part 2. Boom.
Thanks for watching. Go back and watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre again on Netflix. And let us know in the comments if you found any other Easter eggs.